is gonna take crackerjack timing, Wang.
Total concentration. You ready, Jack?
I was born ready.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and today I'm going to review the Dungeons & Dragons inspired fantasy comic Die Number 3 from Image Comics. I really enjoyed the first two issues for different reasons, and issue 3 also stands out as excellent on its own merits. Writer KIERON GILLEN is doing masterwork introducing the reader to his world in logical increments. The first issue introduces the overall premise, and the second was very heavy on the realm and reveal that Saul is alive. The third issue is more character-based, specifically on the main protagonist Ash. The artist on the book is Stephanie Hans, and this is billed as her first ongoing comic series. I personally find this hard to believe as her feel for the fantasy genre is top-notch, and appears like someone who's been creating in the realm for decades. I'll be shocked if her work on this series doesn't catapult her to the front of the line of in-demand fantasy comic artists. As you can see by this first example, her ability to create visually stimulating creatures is first-rate. This dragon is terrifying and beautiful at the same time. I really appreciate the details of the dragon armor and the light in its mouth letting the reader know it's about to unleash hell. The muted landscape and cantina wire in the foreground is a great touch and creates a sense of scope to the art. I like how the main character, Ash, gets a cool pose in this shot, but isn't too detailed and keeps the focus on the star of the page, this expertly rendered dragon. Stephanie Hans does take a few opportunities to show off her creative abilities with standout layouts. She once again provides just enough details in the top 3 panels so readers follow along, but make sure that the majority of your attention is on this beautiful character piece on the bottom. The world of Die is certainly very dangerous and feels that way for the most part, but I like that Hans and Gillen give the reader an opportunity to get a glimpse at the beauty the world offers as well. This is probably my favorite piece of art in the entire issue. Stephanie has a keen eye for cinematography, and you can imagine all the hair standing on the back of your neck in a movie theater if you saw this eagle piercing through the sun to the amazement of our hero. I will say that I think the emotion on the character works for this scene, but there are a few face shots in the book where the expressions are a bit muted and could be more expressive. That's literally the biggest criticism I have of the art in this book. This is an easy 5 out of 5 art rating for me. Finally, this beautiful page of art is presented in a much different style that displays Hans' versatility. I imagine this would translate perfect to a book in the style of Robin Hood, a Sword and Sandals epic, or a Conan-style fantasy. Not that I would prefer her to give up her main style, but she's plenty capable of excelling in multiple styles and genres. When you have an artist this talented, it really eases the burden of the writer to convey everything with words and narration, and frees them up to deliver even better character and stories. I really like when books include visual aids to help the reader keep track of the main cast. Die is a monthly book with 6 characters with their own unique personalities, backstories, and powers. Kudos to Image for making space for this excellent guide to the characters. I do have one complaint about Isabel, the Godbinder character. Her bio reads, divorced schoolteacher with aggressively bilingual intelligence. What the hell does aggressively bilingual intelligence even mean? It's a very lame description and detracts from the character in my mind. In a crowded cast, there are only so many opportunities to make a character pop to the reader, and unfortunately this pops for the wrong reason. If you aren't up to speed on the story, the gist is, in 1991, 6 friends played a game similar to Dungeons & Dragons that Dominic Ash's best friend Saul created, and they were transported to the game realm. Only 5 returned, with 1 missing an arm. 27 years later, they've all experienced some personal successes, but the events of 1991 have drastically affected their abilities to maintain healthy relationships. They come back together one night and are returned to the realm of Die to learn Saul, the Grand Master who was left behind and thought dead, is alive. A majority of the character work in this issue belongs to Dominic Ash, who is known as Ash in the game world and is outwardly a female character even though Dominic is a man. After getting separated from the main group, Ash ends up in a trench, reminiscent of the warfare from World War I. She hears the harrowing tale of a young man who returned to the battlefield over and over to retrieve his friends despite heavy amounts of toxic gas. Eventually his eyes poured down his cheeks and he searched for and saved his friends blind on the battlefield. There's a lot of exploration about how the brunt of sacrifice in war is felt by the poor and young. As a veteran of Afghanistan, this all hit home for me and was well done and never felt preachy. She also agrees to write a letter to the soon-to-be widow of another soldier who only wanted to raise his 2 children, unlike his father and his father's father before him. The soldiers are told to hold out to spring and the war will be over, and they will return to their families, but spring never comes. There's also a very interesting moment where the soldier is talking about his wife and asking Ash if she has a family, not knowing that Dominic is technically a man. It's well done and has potential to lead to an interesting character dilemma regarding gender identity further on. Eventually, after the young men have all succumbed to their wounds, Matt, the Grief Knight, returns. Matt is only capable of wielding his powerful sword if he's put in a very sad state of mind. It creates an interesting dilemma for Ash, as she is the one who can invoke his sadness. The sadness clearly weighs on Matt, and Ash has to be mindful of when it's appropriate to make him feel that way in service of the group. This has a lot of potential for exploration as the story grows. I really appreciated the deft hand Gillen used in the heavier moments of the book, and treated his characters and their responsibilities with care. I'll give the characterization in this book an overall 5 out of 5. The story itself is easy enough to follow. The team is heading on their journey when Angela, the Neo, who needs gold to reset her abilities, spots them. In her haste to retrieve it, they awaken the Prussian steel dragon, resulting in the opening conflict. During the battle, the team is broken apart, and Ash ends up in the aforementioned trench. I covered most of the story between Ash and the soldiers, but there's a bit more here. We eventually meet a very important character, who Ash refers to as Master of the Realm. I expect he will arrive again and serve a key role in future issues. After powering up Matt's sword by telling him the tragic story of the soldiers, he's able to slay the steel dragon, and the band of friends return together. The actions Ash took to power Matt up are addressed, but I get the feeling Ash will misuse this in the future, leading to a major conflict between the characters. Isabel states that the closest town is Glasstown, and the group get back on their journey to return from Die to the real world. I really enjoyed the plot, but it doesn't seem quite like the art or character work, and I'll rate it a 4 out of 5. I really enjoy this series. I've never been much of a D&D player myself, but this book really piques my interest in the gaming genre. If you're looking for a hopeful universe, this probably isn't the series for you. It's action-packed, but the state of the characters is pretty much sad across the board. This definitely feels like a redemption story, and as a reader, I wonder if they will have an opportunity to save Saul as well as their own lives in the end. If you enjoy fantasy and don't mind a more hopeless feeling universe, I think you'll love this book, and I rate Die Issue 3 a 4.5 out of 5 and give it my highest recommendation. There aren't a lot of books with great writing and art these days, so the Die series really stands out from the crowd in my mind. Of course, these are just my opinions. What say you? Have you been reading Die? Does this review get you interested in the series? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.